Between crystalline logic and disconcerting absurdity, between what we can understand and what escapes our imagination, lies a fascinating territory, that of paradoxes. These enigmas are not mere mental games or traps of reason. They are portals to the deepest layers of reality, language, time, and the meaning of existence. They challenge the foundations of human thought, revealing that, often, the more we seek answers, the more we encounter increasingly intricate questions. Paradoxes teach us to embrace uncertainty, question the obvious, and see reality from new perspectives. Let us explore some of the most iconic ones, delving into their implications and beauty. Zeno's paradoxes, the impossible movement. Zeno of Elea, a Greek philosopher from the 5th century BC and disciple of Parmenides, created a series of paradoxes to argue that movement and plurality are illusions. One of the most famous is the Dichotomy paradox. To cross a room, you must traverse half the distance, then half of that half, then half of that, and so on, infinitely. With infinite divisions, how do you begin to move? Another, the Achilles and the tortoise paradox, suggests that Achilles can never overtake a tortoise with a head start, as by the time he reaches where the tortoise was, it has moved slightly further ad infinitum. In the physical world, we know we cross rooms, and Achilles overtakes tortoises. So why is the paradox so intriguing? It exposes a tension between discrete logic, infinite divisions, and the continuity of motion. The resolution came centuries later with Newton and Leibniz's infinitesimal calculus, which handles infinite sums and convergence. The total distance is finite, even if infinitely divisible. Additionally, Einstein's space-time theory suggests that motion is not a sequence of points, but a continuous flow in a four-dimensional fabric. Zeno, unknowingly, anticipated fundamental questions in physics and mathematics, such as the nature of infinity and continuity. Philosophically, he invites us to ask, what is motion? Is it an objective property or a construct of our perception? Reflection. In everyday life, Zeno's paradox reminds us that overanalysis can paralyze us. Sometimes, to act, we must ignore the infinity of steps and simply take the first one. The Sorites Paradox, the limits of vagueness. How many grains of sand make a heap? One grain isn't a heap. Two aren't either. Adding one grain to a non-heap doesn't seem to make it a heap. So, when does the heap emerge? The Sorites Paradox, attributed to Eubulides of Miletus, exposes the vagueness inherent in human categories. Concepts like tall, rich, or happy lack clear boundaries. They depend on context, culture, and subjectivity. If we keep removing grains, when does the heap cease to be a heap? There's no precise line, only a gray zone. This paradox has profound implications in logic, linguistics, and even artificial intelligence, where fuzzy logic is used to handle imprecise concepts, like hot or cold in smart thermostats. Philosophically, it suggests that reality doesn't fit into binary yes or no boxes. Our language is a useful but limited tool for describing a world full of gradients. Wisdom, perhaps, lies in accepting ambiguity and navigating gray zones without demanding absolute certainty. Practical example. Consider the transition from childhood to adulthood. When does someone become an adult? At 18? When they move out? When they make mature decisions? The paradox shows that these categories are conventions, not absolute truths. The grandfather paradox, the enigma of time. Imagine you travel to the past and prevent your grandfather from meeting your grandmother. You would never be born. But if you were never born, who went back in time to prevent the meeting? This is the grandfather paradox, popularized by René Barjavel in 1943, but discussed in science fiction since the 1920s. It challenges our understanding of causality, time, and free will. Several hypotheses attempt to resolve it. Self-consistency hypothesis. Novikov, the universe is consistent. Any action in the past is already part of history. You couldn't prevent the meeting because something would always fail. Multiverse. Each alteration in the past creates a new parallel universe where you weren't born, but the original universe remains intact. Quantum interpretation. At a quantum level, Past events may be probabilistic, allowing paradoxes without definitive contradictions. In physics, Kip Thorne's work on wormholes suggests that temporal loops can be consistent, while Hugh Everett's multiverse theory offers a solution to causal contradictions. Philosophically, the paradox asks, do we have free will to change fate, or are we part of a cosmic script? It also touches on identity. If the past changes, who are we? Pop culture. The paradox appears in films like Back to the Future and The Terminator, where changes in the past create ethical and narrative dilemmas. The Ship of Theseus, the essence of identity. If every plank of a ship is replaced over time, is it still the same ship? And if the original planks are used to build another ship, which is the true one? The Ship of Theseus paradox, described by Plutarch, is one of the oldest debates about identity. It applies not only to objects, but to people. Our cells regenerate every 7 to 10 years. Our memories shift, our beliefs evolve. Is the you of today the same as 20 years ago? Philosophers like John Locke argued that personal identity lies in the continuity of consciousness, not in matter. Derek Parfit went further, suggesting that identity is a fluid narrative, not a fixed essence. In neuroscience, studies on memory show that recollections are reconstructed, not stored like photographs, reinforcing the idea that we are processes, not objects. Culturally, the paradox resonates in debates about restoring artworks or rebuilding historic cities. What makes something authentic? Personal reflection. Consider how you've changed since childhood. Are you the same person despite the transformations? The paradox suggests that identity is a story we tell ourselves, connecting past, present, and future. The hedonism paradox, the flight of happiness. The more you directly pursue happiness, the more it slips away. This is the essence of the hedonism paradox, formulated by philosopher Henry Sidgwick in the 19th century. Seeking immediate pleasure often leads to emptiness, while lasting happiness arises from indirect actions. Human connections, purpose, creativity, or altruism. Aristotle, with his concept of eudaimonia, human flourishing, already pointed out that true fulfillment comes from a virtuous life, not an obsessive pursuit of pleasure. Research in positive psychology, such as Martin Seligman's studies, shows that activities like gratitude, mindfulness, and engagement in meaningful projects increase well-being more than chasing hedonistic pleasures. Culturally, the paradox is evident in consumer society, where the pursuit of material goods rarely brings lasting satisfaction. It's like trying to grasp smoke. The harder we grip, the more it escapes. Practical application. Instead of asking what makes me happy now, ask what gives my life meaning. The answer may lead to deeper joy. The paradox of choice, the prison of freedom. In the information age, we have endless options. 50 ice cream flavors, hundreds of TV series, thousands of possible careers. Yet, paradoxically, more choices can lead to less satisfaction. The paradox of choice, popularized by Barry Schwartz in his 2004 book, suggests that an abundance of options causes paralysis, anxiety, and regret. We fear choosing wrongly or missing the best option. Psychological studies show that maximizers who seek the perfect choice are less happy than satisficers who accept good enough. This paradox is amplified by modern society, with social media and algorithms offering endless choices. It also has economic roots. Rational choice theory assumes more options are always better, but reality shows that limits can be liberating. Practical solution. Set clear criteria for decisions and accept that good enough is often enough. The St. Petersburg Paradox, the irrationality of betting. Why do we play the lottery despite knowing the odds of winning are minuscule? The St. Petersburg Paradox, proposed by Daniel Bernoulli in 1738, explores this irrationality. Imagine a game where you flip a coin until it lands heads, winning 2 to the power n dollars, where n is the number of flips. The expected value is infinite, but no one would pay an infinite amount to play. Why? Because the utility of money decreases as you have more, diminishing marginal utility. This paradox revolutionized economics, leading to the theory of expected utility. Psychologically, it explains why we're drawn to unlikely rewards, driven by hope or emotion, even against logic. It underpins gambling, lotteries, and even risky investments. Fun fact, the paradox inspired decision theory studies, now used in AI to model choices under uncertainty. Catch-22, the bureaucratic trap. In Joseph Heller's novel Catch-22, a pilot can only be discharged from war if deemed insane. But requesting discharge proves he's sane, as only a sane person would recognize the danger. This paradox, known as Catch-22, illustrates situations where rules contradict each other, making escape impossible. It reflects absurd bureaucratic and ethical dilemmas, such as in legal or corporate systems where conditions for action are mutually exclusive. In real life, Catch-22 appears in situations like needing experience to get a job, but needing a job to gain experience. It forces us to question rigid systems and seek creative solutions. Pinocchio's paradox, self-referential logic. My nose will grow now, says Pinocchio. If he's lying, his nose should grow, but then the statement would be true, so it shouldn't grow. If he's telling the truth, his nose grows, but then it was a lie. This paradox, a variation of Epimenides' liar paradox, explores self-referential logic. It has implications in the philosophy of language, e.g., Tarski's truth theory, and computing, where self-referential loops can crash systems. The paradox reminds us that language, while powerful, can create logical traps. It also raises questions about intention. Does Pinocchio know he's lying? Olber's paradox, the dark sky. If the universe is infinite, eternal, and full of stars, why is the night sky dark? This is Olber's paradox, named after Heinrich Olbers, but discussed earlier by Kepler and others. The answer involves the universe's expansion. Redshift makes distant starlight invisible. In its finite age, light from faraway stars hasn't reached us yet. The paradox helped confirm the Big Bang model, proving the universe isn't static or infinite in time. Culturally, it makes us reflect on our cosmic insignificance and the beauty of a starry sky that doesn't blind us with infinite light. Hilbert's hotel paradox, infinity in action. Imagine a hotel with infinite rooms, all occupied. A new guest arrives. How do you accommodate them? Move the guest in room 1 to room 2 to room 3, and so on, freeing room 1. If infinite guests arrive, move current guests to even-numbered rooms, 2, 4, 6, freeing the odd ones. This paradox, created by David Hilbert, illustrates the counterintuitive properties of countable infinity, as shown by George Cantor. It demonstrates that infinity defies common arithmetic rules. In mathematics, the paradox teaches about cardinality in infinite sets. Philosophically, it challenges us to grasp the scale of infinity and our inability to fully visualize it. The Stockdale paradox, faith and realism. James Stockdale, a prisoner of war in Vietnam for 7 years, survived by maintaining unwavering faith that he would prevail while confronting the brutal realities of the present. He observed that naive optimists who believed in quick release died of despair, while resilient realists persevered. Popularized by Jim Collins in Good to Great, the Stockdale paradox teaches that strength comes from balancing optimism with realism. This paradox is relevant for facing personal or collective crises, like illness or professional challenges. It suggests that hope without realism is fragile, but realism without hope is paralyzing. Practical application. In tough times, ask, what's the worst reality I can face? How can I keep faith while dealing with it? Conclusion. The paradox of being human. Paradoxes are not just intellectual curiosities. They are mirrors of the human condition. They reveal that reality is more complex than our minds can grasp, that logic has limits, and that uncertainty is part of existence. The greatest paradox, perhaps, is this: by confronting our limitations, our ignorance, our finitude, our contradictions, we become wiser, more human. By getting lost in the labyrinth of paradoxes, we find not answers, but the beauty of questioning. And in that process, we discover that the journey itself is the destination.